name is Kathy, and today I'll be continuing the discussion on Bach Flower Essences and their practical use. Continuing with the use on ailments. Today, we'll look at the ailments that these essences can help with, continuing with the letter P. But before I do this, I wanted to let you know that because I have a great many videos now on many different topics, that I've decided to make several different video playlists, so that it's easier to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Perfectionism. In the best sense, perfectionism means being able to do things properly, right down to the last detail. As long as this serves a purpose, it can be a meaningful, positive quality, especially in the areas of technology, science, or logic. But life, with its irrationality and uncertainty, is no place for perfectionism. We have limited insight and are not able to make everything just so. Only nature and life itself are perfect. Their examples can give us some insight into our own inability, and in so doing, infallibility, and in so doing allow us to try to become perfect and whole ourselves. When we are uncompromising in trying to realize our expectations down to the last detail, we have problems when we encounter reality, which seldom coincides with our expectations of perfection. For perfectionism in matters of cleanliness, use crabapple. Crabapple can help people who have an excessive need for cleanliness or order. It puts us more at ease with our surroundings and with life in general. For perfectionism that's due to principles, use oak. When we feel compelled to constantly behave perfectly, even when it's not within our abilities, we need oak. For perfectionism due to guilty thoughts, use pine. Pine is helpful when we strive for perfection, not out of the joy of the thing itself, but out of a fear of criticism. A guilty conscience can lead to no good. For perfectionism due to self-denial, use rock water. Rock water helps us become more generous and forgiving with ourselves. It's helpful when we want to be better than we really are. For perfectionism due to a high opinion of yourself, use vine. We need vine when we always know exactly what's right and when we demand everyone to fulfill our expectations. For unyielding perfectionism, use oak and pine. For obsessive perfectionism, use pine and rock water. Pity, self-pity, self-sacrifice. Sympathy is a special form of sorrow. Sorrow is a sign that something is not right. Normally we regard pity as something of a virtue and believe that suffering shared is suffering halved. Actually, sharing our suffering with another only doubles the suffering. We should strive for something else, namely compassion. The ability to take an interest in the suffering of another and, if needed and necessary, stand by that person. We are social creatures, and compassion provides the bridge that links us to other people. Above all, it helps lessen the world's suffering. We strive not to suffer ourselves and to ease the suffering of those around us. For self-pity, use chicory. For excessive pity, use red chestnut. Pregnancy and birth. For pregnancy and birth with vague fears of the future, use aspen. For pregnancy and birth with daydreaming and losing touch with reality, use clematis. For pregnancy and birth with a feeling of being overwhelmed, use elm. For pregnancy and birth with clear specific fears, use mimulus. For pregnancy and birth with depression, use mustard. For pregnancy and birth with general exhaustion, use olive. For pregnancy and birth with anemia, use olive and wild rose. For pregnancy and birth with worries for the child, use red chestnut. For pregnancy and birth, for transition and self-discovery, use walnut. Prejudice, dogmatism, stubbornness. For prejudice, dogmatism, and stubbornness due to excessively strong missionary convictions, use vervain. Vervain is for people with the urgent desire to bring others to their own way of thinking. If they would admit that other people have just as much of a claim to the truth, their actions would lose their moral justification. For prejudice, dogmatism, and stubbornness due to a closed-mindedness, use vine. Vine is for the dogmatic know-it-all who takes only their own opinions seriously and feels justified in passing judgment without considering all of the facts. Psychosis, obsession, rash behavior. For psychosis, obsession, and rash behavior that is impending due to suppression, use agrimony and cherry plum. For psychosis, obsession, and rash behavior that is impending with restlessness, use cherry plum and impatience. For psychosis, obsession, and rash behavior that is impending due to stresses and overwork, use cherry plum and oak. For psychosis, obsession, and rash behavior as the result of severe self-suppression, use cherry plum and rock water. For psychosis, obsession, and rash behavior due to an emotional or mental injury, use cherry plum and Star of Bethlehem. For psychosis, obsession, and rash behavior with rage, use cherry plum and holly. Puberty issues. For puberty use, use agrimony, larch, pine, walnut, and water violet. During puberty, we become aware of our most important biological function. This decisive new orientation can bring about great problems. We must develop a healthy relationship to our new physical needs. And we must also define our new role in society. Agrimony helps us behave naturally. It helps counter the affected shame that often arises in connection with developing sexuality. Larch strengthens our feelings of self-worth, which now must take on a new dimension with our burgeoning sexual awareness and strength. Pine helps us curb sexual guilty feelings that poison the growing person. Walnut is the most important essence for change and new beginnings and helps us transfer our internal order to external functions, allowing us to be and become our true selves. Water violet can be given to a young person with human contact problems. The purpose in life is lacking, or for a person who has purpose in life issues, lacking a purpose in life, or being unrealistic about their purpose of life. We need a purpose in life if we are to develop our joy, strength, and creativity. When we have no goals, or when life seems meaningless, we become physically and psychically ill. Bach Flower Essences can help us find our true character and our purpose in this life. For lack of purpose in life due to insecurity, use Serato. When we don't know what to do, or when we don't trust our own instincts, we are unable to fulfill our personal mission in life. Serato helps us understand our own inner advisor and makes us more confident with our own opinions. For a lack of purpose in life due to a weak will, use gentian. When we are too easily discouraged and distracted from our goals, gentian can help restore our strength of will and purpose. For a lack of purpose in life due to a lack of self-confidence, use larch. Sometimes when we're faced with unhappiness, we feel that we are not up to it or that we haven't earned it. Larch can help strengthen our self-confidence. For a lack of purpose in life leading to depression, use mustard. Many people are overcome again and again by seemingly groundless depression. Actually, a lack of motivation and goals in life can be the cause. For a lack of purpose in life due to pathological guilt, use pine. Pine helps us pursue our goals and desires when we feel that we are not deserving and that our lives must be filled with self-denial. For a lack of purpose in life due to self-denial, use rock water. Rock water is useful when we believe that we can find meaning in life only through self-discipline and through eliminating our worthless or superficial qualities. For a lack of purpose in life that's due to being too easily influenced, use walnut. We all have our own personality and our own life path. The more resolve we use in following it, the happier we will be. The more we allow ourselves to be dissuaded from it, the more frustrating and meaningless life will seem. For a lack of purpose in life due to a lack of clarity, use wild oat. Wild oat helps us in our search for goals or a purpose in life. It can open our eyes to our own personal talents and tendencies, but it must be taken over a long period of time. For a lack of purpose in life due to insecurity, use serrato and wild oat. For a lack of purpose in life because of inattentiveness, use chestnut bud and wild oat. For a lack of purpose in life due to a lack of self-confidence, use larch and wild oat. For a lack of purpose in life or false purpose in life due to self-castigation, use rock water and wild oat. For the lacking of a life goal in general, use walnut and wild rose. Pushiness, distance, emotional, missionary tendencies. For pushy, insistent helping or concern for others, use chicory. For pushiness due to missionary zeal, use vervain. For pushiness and the imposing of one's will, use vine. For pushiness in love or caring for others, use chicory and oak. For pushiness caused by a fear of loneliness, use heather and mimulus. I have a great many videos now on many different topics, and so I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easy to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Well, that's it for now. To stay up to date with my latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this free YouTube channel by clicking the red subscribe button right below this video. Take care.